At the start of the year, we sat down and decided that the best way to approach our fishing this year was to start looking at venues that had, well, probably some bigger fish, better stock, maybe start looking further afield. We got on a local club ticket. We've also planned trips for up in Oxfordshire and places like that. But the big one that was missing off our list was a trip abroad. It took us a while to find a venue that really suited the kind of fishing that we were after. We weren't necessarily looking at fishing somewhere with a vast expanse of water, like 70, 90 acres kind of size. We thought we'll start small, we'll go somewhere maybe 3 or 4 acres, a good head of fish, a good chance of a bite, but also a very good chance of beating a PB. The venue we ended up choosing was, and please excuse my French here, was Les Etangs de la Curie, which was in northwest France, just on the outskirts of Normandy. When the day finally came round, the alarms were set for 3:30 and we were on the road by 4. Crossing was reasonably smooth. By 8:30 we were driving through France. The first hiccup of a holiday came when Tom had to pull over with a puncture, but within half an hour we were back on the road again. The rest of the drive down was perfectly fine, and we were there by mid-afternoon. When we arrived, the owners sat us down for a cup of coffee, talked us through the lake rules, and then took us down to the lake. The lake was in beautiful surroundings, stunning backdrop of endless fields, massive open skies. Lake was surrounded by woodland, lots of overhanging features, stalking spots, but also a good expanse of water that from one swim you could cover almost the entire lake. Within about an hour of getting there, it started raining. We didn't think much of it until the odd rumble of thunder started coming from in the distance. Within the hour, we were pretty much underwater in one of the biggest thunderstorms that either of us has ever seen. That lasted for a couple of hours to the point where most of the drive and stuff had been washed away, the swims were underwater, everything was soaking wet, but we cracked on with setting up, and rods were out by 7:30 and we were settled up for the evening. Not expecting to have much action that night because the rods were just literally pinged to 3 different spots that looked like they might do a bite, but we hadn't really done any feature finding, hadn't had a chance to look around the lake, so we literally had three rods each out on 3 okay looking spots. At 2 AM I had a fairly twitchy take, but when I picked up the rod I knew I was into a nice fish.
Are we good?
Yeah.
It's not like holding it.
Not like holding an 8-pounder. Bloody hell. Right, up. There we go, perf.
Is that good?
Bang in there, mate.
Right, here it is. New personal best. 28 pounds, 1 ounces. French common carp. To about 2 in the morning, slow take and a hell of a fight. Just slow, heavy bend in the rod. Yeah, absolutely mint. So made up. God, literally, first night out of 8. And yeah, gone and done it, smashed the PB. Absolutely obliterated. Yeah, what more can we say? Hopefully, first of many more like this. God, I don't know what I'm going to do for any heavy though.
Enough about banging.
The rest of the night was relatively uneventful, and we woke up the following morning feeling positive about our chances of what could be a very good holiday.
The weather the first full day was diabolical. Continued to have thunderstorms like all throughout the day, and managed to like settle down a bit by the evening, but we weren't too optimistic, weren't really expecting a bite with all the rain that we'd had during the first couple of days. But I actually woke up about midnight to a slow take on left-hand rod, and seemed like a big fish, nice big pulls, and moving quite slow, but unfortunately lost it in the snags. Had another one about 3 in the morning, just turned out to be a small common, so no real other big fish that night. Woke up the next morning and hadn't had any action throughout until about 12 o'clock, so me and Josh decided to make a trip to the shops to get some food. On the way back we started getting another set of thunderstorms, and by the evening it had fully flooded the area, like the banks were underwater.
So following all the awful rain we had between Saturday and Monday, Tuesday brightened up a little bit, despite the water that was still pouring over the dam wall. It looked better for a bite, but sitting behind the rods just wasn't working. We'd seen them boshing out in both corners, so I grabbed 2 of my rods and went down onto the dam wall and flicked one under a tree and one right in the corner between the dam and an overhanging willow. The rods were out for about an hour, and all of a sudden the right hand one absolutely hoops round, and I'm hooked into what feels like a decent fish. Not as big as the first one, but I could tell that it was something nice on the end. I got it close to the net and I could tell it was an alright fish, and we were looking at a mirror that was just over the 20-pound mark.
There we go, second French carp of the trip. This one's gone £20.13, so second 20. We've had a couple of smaller ones, but yeah, took 2 rods stalking with me on the dam wall where I'd seen them topping, and I'd been baiting up a spot over the last 24 hours. Surprisingly, this came off the spot that I hadn't been baiting up. I'd only put a little bit out, but yeah, absolutely made up with this after well over 24 hours without a fish. Yeah, really happy.
fish, just simply the fact that we'd had to really graft it for the first few days of the trip, and to have one, considering all the effort we put in, was just it was a good reward for all our hard work basically. After slipping it back, we felt like there was a chance for another bite that day, but it moved into the evening and it grew cooler again. It just didn't look like it was going to happen. And Tuesday night was another quiet one. Wednesday was by far the hottest day of the week so far. Skies cleared up, wind died off, and it was t-shirt and shorts weather easily. There still wasn't a lot of activity on the lake, and I did a few laps, took the stalking rods around a couple of times, and without much interest at all. But then going along the far bank, I found a few of them hidden underneath a few snags. So I got the little 6 foot out, little piece of bread, and just went up and down seeing if I could tempt a fish or two really. Having found a group of 4 or 5 of them under a tree, I dropped a piece of bread in amongst them, and they were absolutely troughing for it, proper competing for it basically. And out of all of them, actually I managed to hook into the smallest of the lot.
Right then, third decent fish of the trip for me. This one's just over 14 pounds. Nothing was happening on the bottom baits whatsoever. Sun came out today, so we decided, well, best thing to do, to be honest, is drop the bottom baits and I'll just go down the far bank with my little sawn off and a piece of bread. Found 6 of them under a tree. To be honest, out of all of them, he was one of the smallest. There are easily some under there pushing the mid 30 mark. But to be honest, I think this is going to be the best way to approach it for the rest of the week, to be honest. Fish stalk during the day, bottom baits at night, and just see what happens. Just see if we can nick a few bites. It's been a tough week, but we'll get there.
Give him a little tickle. Next day, Jamie, the owner of the lakes, mentioned a spot in one of the corner swims where he'd seen a few fish feeding during the day. So I wound my rods in again, just went around there with a single hook bait, sort of waited till I could see they'd moved out slightly and just slipped it in about half a wrap around the bank and just sat down and waited. Waited there for about 45 minutes and then just saw some big swells in the margin, and it wasn't long, about 30 more seconds, and the rod just hooped around, line tightened up completely, and felt like a much bigger fish than anything I'd wound into so far that trip. Quite a long fight, but managed to finally get it in the net, and me and Josh were both quite surprised with the size of the thing.
Get how tall you are. You go, yeah, if you go like that, hold them up. Cool, so it's been a really slow start to the week, but finally managed to get a bite. Stalked one half a rod length out from the willows over there, and shattered a PB. 33 pounds, 2 ounces.
That's the one.
Yeah. Don't know what else to say, to be honest. What a lump.
On the last night, again, we woke up and sort of decided to do the same thing, as that seemed to be paying off. Both of us just went around with a single rod, sort of in the margins, trickling in tiny bits of bait and waiting, seeing if there was any activity. That paid off quite nicely for me. I had my last fish of the session, which went to just over 20 pounds. It's a really nice little mirror. Yeah, so we actually discussed it later in the week, and we're really happy with the outcome of the trip, to be fair. We had the worst rain that France had seen in recorded history, so that week was really tough due to just the weather in general, flipping to and fro from hot and cold, lots of water going in, changing the water temperature constantly. We had a chat and we were really happy with the way things had gone that week. Managed 5 fish between us, and considering the conditions, we were more than happy with that and broke 2 PBs, so overall it was a really good trip. packed up nice and early and started, making a move. We're both certain that we're going to go back there maybe next summer for a return trip.